All right. So you had questions about what the project was. What was it specifically?
I know a lot of people in my group wanted to know if you can explain the person 2 through 4 roles.
Okay, so when I sent, well, I'll just go through them all real quick. So understand person 1 is looking at the metal, okay? And then person 2 through 4 are basically doing the same thing, but they're doing it on 3 of the different compounds. So when I sent you the picture of what your metal is, or what your reactions were, that reaction sheet, the metal is on the left column. Actually, I can share my screen. Hold on just a second. Let me open it up.
Okay.
And then I could point to it. So, all right, I don't know what group somebody's in, but it doesn't really matter. All right, and then
I'm in group silver.
okay, I pulled up manganese, but it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Okay, so
that's the one I'm in.
Okay, so yeah, I did this for every group. I did this for all 6 groups. Okay, so when I look at this one, this is the metal that you're investigating. So depending on, if you were in silver, this would be the metal that you're investigating. And these are the 5 ionic compounds that you could possibly use as a way of so what you're trying to do is that you're trying to propose something that will cause the metal to precipitate out, to remove it from the water supply, because once it forms a solid, I can put it through a filter system, and that filter system would remove the metal. Okay, so I have to look for something that's insoluble. It forms a precipitate. And so looking at this one, sodium hydroxide does, sodium carbonate does, sodium phosphate does, but sodium sulfate does not, and sodium chloride does not, because they're both very clear. Okay, so you need to look and see what ones form a precipitate. And all of these all 6 of these, which nobody has a limit on, all 6 of these will have at least 3 that form a precipitate, okay, or form a solid when you react them. So roles 2 through 4 are role number 2, person number 2 would take sodium hydroxide, person number 3 would take sodium carbonate, and person number 4 would take sodium phosphate. And you're supposed to be answering the questions of what, if any, are the health hazards of adding sodium hydroxide to water? How much does it cost to buy 1 kilogram of it? And you can find all these answers on the internet. And then this solid is what happened when I reacted sodium hydroxide and manganese chloride together. Okay, so what solid formed here? Okay, and so that's and then you can just basically Google the term solubility of the name of the ionic compound that formed. Okay, and so I'm going to pick this one over here because this one didn't precipitate. So this would be manganese 2 sulfate. So I could Google the term solubility of manganese 2 sulfate, and it should give it to me in either grams per liter or grams per milliliter. It should give me some solubility that I can then report. So those, I think, are the 3 things. Let me go back to the tilted instructions, make sure I'm not missing anything here. The instructions. Okay. So yeah, pick an ionic solid, the health effect, the cost. Yeah, those are the 3 things that you need to produce. Okay. So does that help?
Yes, for the 2 through 4, but what about person 1?
Okay, person 1, then let me go back to the instructions to make sure I'm making sure I get all the things here. Person 1, you want to look at the health effect of having, for this example I have pulled up, what's the health effect of having manganese in the water? So if you have manganese in the water, is there a problem with it? Is there health? There may not be. It may be a taste thing. So iron makes water taste bad, and iron's not one of our choices, but iron makes water taste bad, but it doesn't have a health effect. And where in the world might this be a contamination? And then most of the groups only have 4 people, which means that that you would also then come back to, as a group, you need to decide which of the 3 salts do you propose using. And you have to justify why. There's 3 factors you need to look at. You look at cost. Is cost most important? If so, we chose this one. Is it the health effects of the salt? If so, we chose this one because it's the least, adding sodium chloride really doesn't hurt anything. Or the third thing is how effective it is. So in solubility, the lower that number is that you report, the less metal that will then be left in the water after filtration. Okay, so the lower the number, the less metal that would be left in the solution. So therefore, the solubility tells you how effective it is at pulling out that metal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody else have any questions?
Yes. Since so for the my group has an extra person. So do you want that extra person to just work with someone else?
No, so if you have 5 people, then the 5th person does what I just talked about, that last part, where they basically, you as a group have to decide it, but they have to present it as to which salt do you choose and why do you choose that salt.
Okay. And so also for the person 1 that does the research.
Okay, I'm gonna mute everybody and unmute Kiara. Hold on.
My mom like that. Like, we don't really have.
I'm hearing lots of background. There we go. All right, now Kiara, you're unmuted. Well, there we go. Okay, now Kiara, what's your question?
Okay, I was saying, okay, since person 1, in the description it said that we had to research a metal ion.
So in the example I just showed, it was manganese. So depending on which group it is, I told you in the email and what metal you're doing. So
right, we're doing.
Go ahead.
Manganese. I'm just making sure it's that exact metal ion and not metal ions in general.
It's that particular one. Yes.
Okay, just that. Okay.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? You
Okay.
can just unmute yourself if you do. I muted you back. Hold on, Kira. Kira, unmute yourself if you want to have another question. Sorry.
No, that was all.
Okay. Because see, a box shows up that says that somebody's trying to talk, even if I can't hear them. So. Anybody else have any other questions?
I do, but I'm trying to find it because I just lost it. I wrote notes. Okay, for example, I was reading about silver and it has antibacterial properties. Like, is that something I could?
Sorry, I muted the wrong person.
Hello?
Okay, sorry. You said, I'm sorry, I muted you by accident. So silver, you said, has antimicrobial properties. Yes, but, huh?
Antibacterial properties.
Bacterial, right. But what would be the health hazards of it also?
Okay.
It turns out that if you have too much silver, your skin actually will start to turn blue. There's actually a guy in the United States who's permanently blue because of too much silver.
Okay, so I was asking if it would be okay to kind of talk about the pros and cons to give us more like substance in our project.
Yeah, that works.
Okay. I don't know where my group is. I'm trying to figure out questions for them just in case, but.
Well, like I said, I'm recording this, so hopefully I'll get all the questions covered. And I'll post this.
This is Jaden. I'm in the group. Listening.
Okay. Hi, Jane.
Also, I was letting her know that I was in here. My Wi-Fi is like finicky, so like I'm catching pieces of what's going on.
Like I said, I'm recording it so you can go back and watch it later, but I understand. You see that I'm in the classroom right now because if I try to do this at home, I freeze.
Yes, like that's what's going on. Like I had to walk down the street to the little coffee place.
That's why, unfortunately, that's why I have to have collaborates during certain times because that's when I come to campus every Tuesday and Thursday. Just Thursday afternoons, I have meetings. So that's why I'm doing that. Any other questions?
In terms of looking up which ionic compound would be used to remove silver, what do you think I should start, researching? Like, what would I type in?
Well, it depends which one. If your role is the one that's looking up the metal, then you wouldn't need to do that. That would be another group members.
Oh, so person one is just looking up the health effects?
And where in the world it might be found. So where would this likely to be a problem?
Okay, I got you, because I found a good little website for that. Okay.
Okay.
Well, those are all my questions. In terms of that, what about doing the PowerPoint to YouTube thing? How would that work? What's a good site or method to put it on there?
Yes, I did. I was very vague in those directions because I don't know. It could be anything from one person literally using their phone to record the screen while everyone's talks, and so you get the voice recording, or you can actually do sound recordings inside PowerPoint. Although I'm not real good at it. When I tried doing it, it never worked well. And there's actually the software that I tend to use when I'm making the screen grabs and that kind of thing is called Active Presenter. It's free. And that will allow you to make a video. You can upload your power. Now, I don't actually do it this way, but you can upload your PowerPoints and then input audio sounds over that PowerPoint too.
Okay.
But that's why I was vague, because it's really up to you. You guys are more technically savvy than I am. And so
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't you went over it, but I didn't catch it in time. So like my group is manganese, and you have like sodium hydroxide, sodium carbonate, and the other sodium chloride and the other two. So will we like pick each one and just or is it like
no, because if it doesn't have a reaction, if it didn't form or precipitate, then you can't use it because it won't. If it doesn't form or precipitate, you can't filter it out. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
So let me actually let me stop sharing because I don't want to give one group an advantage by doing something that one group has. So I'm gonna go just a second and find. There it is. Nobody has group 11, group aluminum, so let me do this one.
Okay.
That way I'm not helping one group of another. Oh, because I just didn't have 6 groups. So, okay, when you look at this, okay, it's really, really fuzzy and you may have to zoom in on the picture, but that's why it's on half black, half white. Okay, if I look over here, see how this is all pretty uniform? There's nothing else there, and the same is true here. But you see how this, I don't see the black so well. Even on this one, I don't see the black so well, and this one, I don't see the black so well. So these 3 form precipitates, okay? So in doing my presentation of compounds that are possible, I can't use aluminum sulfate and I can't use aluminum chloride because they did not form precipitates. I can only use ones in which there was something produced when I mixed the 2 chemicals together.
Okay. So the ones that form the precipitate,
each person 2 through 4 picks a different compound. So if person 2 chooses sodium carbonate, then person 1 chose sodium phosphate, and person 3 chose sodium hydroxide, that's fine.
okay. Okay, because that was my question, because I had chose one and I didn't choose the other ones, and I was like, because I know you said that when it was clear, it didn't form precipitate, so I was just making sure.
Right.
Okay. Okay. I get it. Okay. Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay.
So since I'm person one, I'm gonna have to wait for everyone else to figure out which compound removes the metal.
Well, you can look at it and see, but yeah, you kind of if you're also doing the end report part two, if you only have 4 members, then yeah, you need to have them come together and decide what that one was.
Okay.
So as a group, that's kind of the only place in which you really need a group decision is which compound are you promoting as the one that's the best recommendation
To remove the silver.
to remove the silver.
Okay, I got you.
And so, I mean, and like I said, there's 3 different factors, and it doesn't really matter to me which factor you choose as being the most important, but you need to state you chose this one and this factor because of what. You know, I looked at the solubility, or I looked at the health effects, or I looked at the cost. Which factor did you make most important?
Okay. Thank you. That kind of clears it up a lot more.
Okay. It's kind of hard. This is my first time teaching. Well, it's my first time teaching solely online. It's my first time trying to do a group project online. So this is a learning curve for all of us.
The Rona's messed up everybody, but I'm glad everyone's safe.
Yeah. You want to see what the classroom's going to come back if we come back? In theory, we're coming back. So I'm in the classroom now, and so they've come through, and now they've only have 1 chair per table. So I'm sitting at the first table in case I need to use electricity. And so there's the chair, and then the blue tape says "Do not sit here." And so that's through the entire room. They've basically removed half the chairs out. So this went from being 48 people classroom to 24-person classroom.
And
So we're gonna have smaller class sizes next semester.
Wow.
They're trying to think about what they want to do as far as the one thing I've heard as a rumor as a possible thing is that they would stream the rest. They would have another classroom in which they would have, you could have it such that there's another place that the lecture's being streamed to.
Okay, I kind of want to get back to the regular program because I cannot do this online. It's just not working.
I understand.
Yeah, like for my biology,
they're doing
like
that.
my major, I prefer to be in class.
It's much more interactive. But the good thing is that even if we go back to face-to-face, all those quizzes that I'm having you do, I can still have access to those because I've created them all. I've learned my lesson not to use short answer. The new material, which is from chapter 6 on, doesn't have any short answer. The exam still does, but the quizzes won't, so I don't have to go back and check the quizzes. But yeah, so that, but I have that so you guys get extra practice. Or people in the future have extra practice.
mask will be mandatory, correct, when we come back?
Huh?
Mask will be mandatory?
Yes.
Well, if they're doing streaming, does that mean people have the choice to do online? Technically?
I don't know. We've been told very little information too.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy.
Do you know if they're splitting labs for like the chemistry classes? Because I know they are for some of the vet tech classes. They're going to be splitting labs. Are they doing that?
Yeah, I was talking with Dr. Holmes about it, and what we thought we would do would basically be we do the same lab 2 weeks in a row. So if we split the class in half the class would come all week 1s, and the other half of the class would come all week 2s.
Okay. Okay, I see.
But I have to be honest with you, I don't think there's a great chance that we will stay on campus very long. Not with the numbers increasing the way they are right now.
Right.
I mean, I hope I'm wrong, but I would like to go back to normal too. But I don't really see it happening until they have the vaccine out there.
Mhm.
Right.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
All right, if you don't have any more questions, then I will go ahead and stop recording.
Thank you.